Well, hey, everybody. Welcome into this month's Destination of the Month. My name is Michael Bennett, co-founder of ExploreX. And on behalf of our entire team at ExploreX here in the States and around the world, we want to welcome you into this conversation with our good friend Dimitris in Greece. For those of you who may be new to ExploreX, we are a Seattle-based travel design company. Our mission is to not only help you travel better, but also to help you live better. So if you are curious about what that means and how we do that, we invite you to cruise on over to our website. It's explorer-x.com, or if you have any questions for us, shoot us an email at hello@explorer-x.com. Sorry, screwed that one up. And of course, you can follow us on social at GoExploreX. Okay, so as I mentioned today, we're super excited. I guess tonight for Dimitris, but today for us, this morning for most of us here in the States. We're super excited to have our friend Dimitris Papageorgiou, who I know that's not how you pronounce your name, Dimitris, but I'm wildly inadequately prepared to actually pronounce it properly. So you'll have to give us a tutorial in a second. But Dimitris is our partner, our friend, our colleague on the ground, boots on the ground in Greece. We work with him very, very closely in planning all of our adventures for our travelers to Greece. Wonderful guy, super well connected, and I think you're going to learn a ton from chatting with Sarah and with Dimitris this morning / today. Also wanted to highlight that my colleague, good friend, Sarah Ledger, who's on our team. Sarah runs a lot of our group programs. Sarah was just in Greece in October, traveling around doing a scouting mission with Dimitris. So Sarah's going to lead our conversation today and really be able to provide some insider insight and share some of her experiences from her most recent trip. So before we get started, Amanda, anything we need to know about technology?
Yes. If everybody wouldn't mind staying muted during the conversation, that would be great. We'll have time for questions at the end. If you do have any questions during the presentation, if you want to put them in the chat, we'll be during the needed and save some for the end as well. As Michael said, we are recording, so we'll be sending this out after in an email.
Yep.
So if you want to watch again or you missed it the first time, we'll have that recording out for everyone. I think that's it.
Thanks, Amanda. Ledger, all you.
Okay, so I just utilized the chat feature here and just asked everyone a question. So feel free to chime in there if you want, or just be thinking about it. And as Amanda said, feel free to ask us any questions in the chat box or wait until after. But I'm curious why, for the folks on here, why are you interested in Greece? Have you been before? Are you looking to return? Why is it on your bucket list? So feel free to chime in there. Dimitris, I'm so excited to see you. It was like a month ago that we were together exploring Greece, such a beautiful place. I don't want to steal your thunder, but I'll just say I'm just really excited for this conversation. It was my first time in Greece, had been on my list for quite some time. And I think everyone sort of has preconceived notions of what they think a destination will be like. Instagram has certainly helped and hurt that. And so it was just so awesome to be there and to see a place that I had known about for so long and read in school, and was just really excited to be there. And I visited Athens and the island of Crete and Santorini, and we'll get into those islands. But I was just blown away by the food, by the hospitality, and the differences of the islands. I think that was something that really intimidated me, was figuring out which island should I go to. They all look so beautiful, they're different. So I can't wait for you to kind of overview the region and help people to understand that as well. But anyways, I'm just very excited. I'm always excited, but really good to see you. And thank you so much for taking the time. So we'll start off, Dimitris, could you just help us to understand a little bit about your background and how you started your company, and just more about you in general would be great.
Yeah, so hello to everyone. Hello, Michael. Hello, Sarah. I'm Dimitris Papageorgiou. I mean, it's kind of hard to pronounce it correctly, Michael. But in English, it's Papageorgiou, so that doesn't really matter.
So I've called you worse, Dimitris. Don't worry.
even the first letter is delta, so it's Dimitris, not Dimitris, but that's okay. I mean, It doesn't really matter. So I'm working basically as a guide now for 15 years. I started working with big American companies such as REI and I don't know, National Geographic Adventures, and I was leading adventure trips in Greece for them for about 10 years. And all that started obviously from my love of travel and the mountains and hikes and I don't know, nature in general. And 7 years ago, I established my own business, and we do well so far. I'm very, very satisfied about that. And I'm feeling quite that I'm kind of an ambassador of my country, you know. So when people travel to Greece, you know, I always want them to show the best, if we can say that. So yeah. And yes, we had really good time with Sarah. Sarah, how was Santorini? You know, the weather was good, or it was similar as Crete?
I saw the sun. It was great. Yes.
I mean, usually October is a very, very nice month to travel in Greece, but Sarah was there in Crete during like I don't know, like a thunderstorm for 4 days. Either way, yeah.
We made the best of it. Yeah.
Yeah, it happens.
And Dimitris, and actually, Michael, you might be able to help me understand this too, but I know we've sent quite a few of our travelers to Greece already, right? Is that correct? And I know they all have had just such a wonderful time, but, and there was someone there that we had sent while I was there also. We were just a couple of days apart.
Yeah. Greece has always been, you know, since ExploreX started, probably one of the top 2 or 3 destinations that we've sent travelers to, you know, for obvious reasons, but reasons that Dimitris will explain to us. But yeah, it's I mean, this year alone, I think we're a small business, right? So, you know, we do maybe 50 bookings or so per year. But probably sending 6 or 7 or 8 different groups or couples to Greece this year. So certainly very, very, very popular amongst our travelers.
Well, Dimitris, what gets me so excited about our conversation is you are just so well connected, and you've had a lot of your own travels to different places, which I think really helps you to understand what the traveler's mindset is while traveling through Greece and expectations. And there's how travelers used to travel before COVID, and then what that's like now, and how that's changed the landscape and the demand and access and all of that. But I noticed it on our trip. I just felt like I was really traveling with an insider, with the local, and got a lot of really unique experiences. So I'm excited for you to highlight that. But can you help us to understand? I know Amanda's background here, she's in front of a beautiful island, and it would just be helpful for us to understand a little bit more about the landscape and geography of Greece, and maybe some of the most popular destinations.
Yes, of course. So basically, the country is divided in 2 different parts, let's say. So we have the mainland, which is least traveled, and it's a pity because it's very, very beautiful and quite interesting and less touristy. I mean, before you mentioned Instagram, which is great and it helps, but it kind of takes everyone to the same places, right? And of course, we have the islands, and even in the islands, we have big differences. Because basically we have 2 different Greece. It's we have the sea, obviously, which is part of the Mediterranean Sea, but we have Ionian Sea and Aegean Sea. Amanda's picture is from Ionian Sea, so it's on the west part of the country, and it's quite different there. It has a lot of pine trees. The color of the water is a bit different, and then we have Aegean Sea, which is the most popular. We have the Cycladic region there that very famous islands are, like Santorini and Mykonos and Naxos and Tinos. We have many islands, right? Think that Greece has 6,000 islands. 107 of them are inhabited. So you have tons of options. With Instagram, all of them go in the same ones, which is okay. You know, some of them are amazing, some others are not so amazing, but still. For example, I'm not a big fan of Mykonos. You know, everyone wants to go to Mykonos, but I don't really like Mykonos. You know, Santorini on the other side, it's also visited a lot, but it's amazing, right? So yeah. Either way, and then we have Crete. Sarah, you experienced that. Crete, it could be a destination by itself. Yeah. When I give advice to people, I say that you can spend like at least 10 days just in Crete. Of course, when people travel in Greece, they want to combine islands, and this is possible. Island hopping is possible, but some of them they deserve a lot of time, and Crete is one of them. It's very, very big. It's 200 miles from the one side to another. Has beautiful towns, beautiful villages, so and it's quite diverse. And then we have the Dodecanese Islands. Dodeka in Greece, Greek means 12. And it's also a totally different region. The most famous of them is Rhodes, and maybe you have heard of it, and Kos, and there's some smaller ones. So I would say, especially for the islands, that people come for the ones that are more popular. But for me, when I'm creating trips, I find it very interesting to combine the popular islands with smaller ones, because nowadays with tourism, which obviously it's beneficial for the country, you know, some of the very touristic islands are getting so overcrowded. I mean, it's Santorini. It's crazy how many people are getting there. So they're kind of losing the, I don't know, the feeling of how Greek islands look like. It's like almost like a theme park today. So it's always nice for people to go and see smaller islands alongside with the famous ones. Obviously, when you travel in a country, I don't know, you travel in Peru and you want to go to see Machu Picchu, and it makes sense because it's amazing. So you really have to go to see some of these destinations, like Santorini, for example. But at the same time, if you want to see real Greece, you have to go and see a smaller island. And as I said, there are so many of them that you have tons of options for that.
So I think it might be intimidating for people if they're trying to figure out, okay, I've got 10 to 12 days. I want to see a few different islands. I'm not quite sure how to put it all together. I think sometimes it's hard for travelers to truly understand the distance between islands, how much time to have on each island, right? So yes, Michael, absolutely. Go ahead. Sorry, Michael just asked me a question and I was just about to ask it. So I love that question. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, so sorry, Ledger, I was like totally interrupting, but I was just curious, Dimitris. I know we're going to get into the islands, and that's what, as you said, and as Sarah was saying, that's why what a lot of folks think of when they think of Greece. But you mentioned that the mainland was less touristed, less traveled, but also maybe equally spectacular in different ways. So whether it's now or later in our conversation, I just want to learn more about the different parts of the mainland, you know, because I know there's so much there that people just sort of skip. They fly into Athens and then it's off to Santorini, Crete, Mykonos, you know, both fill in the blank, right? But there's so much to do and see there as well that often gets skipped over. So I just want to make sure at some point we touch on that as well.
We can discuss it now. Actually, yeah. My favorite part of Greece is in the mainland. You know, I love the islands and I spend a lot of time there. But my favorite part is up north it's a region called Zagori. It's least traveled. Of course, it has been discovered by travelers and mostly by Europeans, you know, in the previous decades, not many Americans. So it's, you know, Greece, you know, most people won't think about Greece, they only think about the islands, right? White houses, blue domes. But we also have mountains. I think that in the mainland we have many peaks that are above 8,000 feet. Mount Olympus is now 9,000 feet. And as I said, we have snow in the winter. So that region it's a mountainous region. Now it's probably going to be also a UNESCO heritage place, which has 46 stone villages. It's very beautiful if people like to go off the beaten path, if they like to hike. And yeah, you go there and you have the feeling that you're kind of by yourself. And it's interesting that I have like travelers that have come back in Greece, you know, especially the people from the States. When they come the first time, they go to the islands, but there are some people that they have come back or try to combine the mainland and with the islands. And at the end, they like it better up there because it still has the feeling that you're discovering an area that is not everywhere in Instagram, right? And of course, you mentioned Athens. You know, in the past, Athens was a city that was basically a transit city. This is also changing at the moment because someone can easily spend like a few days in Athens and kind of discover all the different layers of history. It's not the most beautiful town in the world, but it's totally interesting. You know, you have the Parthenon and you have really beautiful neighborhoods. And then if you head north, you can visit some very interesting archaeological sites as Delphi. And then you have Meteora, which maybe you have seen pictures. There's huge rock formation with monasteries on the top. And if you continue even northern, you have Zagori, as I said. So there's a lot to discover in the mainland. Even south from Athens, there is the region called Peloponnese, which has some really pretty towns with Venetian influence. In Greece, wherever you travel, you discover all these layers of the different empires that they have passed through here. So, and I think you find it more in the mainland rather in the islands. In the islands, you have like a more either you also see this in Crete, for example, you have the layers, but in the Cycladic Islands, you don't really experience that. So my general advice would be for people would be also to try to visit the mainland. I know it's not the most popular, but I think that if you really want to see real Greece, you have to go like north.
So thank you, Michael. That was a really great point. Yeah, I mean, I was surprised. I guess some of my follow-up questions are like, are there any myths that you can help to debunk? And I think you're right. People have this vision of Greece and it often probably is Santorini or Mykonos, but like understanding either different places, which you've touched on already, or just people even understanding the vibe. I remember you explaining, and I definitely saw this when I visited, the people are different on each island and they're all so proud to say, oh, no, I'm Cretan, or I'm from Santorini, or even on Crete, like, oh no, I'm from Heraklion, and that's very different than Hania, and they're all just very, and it's like it's 2 hours of difference, and it's like, no, this is the best part of the island, no, we're the best. And so and just how they live and what they believe. So maybe helping us to understand any bit of the personality or the landscape. Like I was so surprised in Crete that there was all of this mountainous, beautiful landscape. I just, again, dumbly thought it was just going to look like a bunch of beaches. And I'm like, wow, I want to come back and hike. And so, yeah, I think helping people to understand those differences in people or landscape would be super helpful.
Yeah, even the tourist board of Greece, for the past decade, they were advertising just the beach and the blue domes and the white houses. But now, if you start seeing like YouTube videos from them, they also now try to say that Greece, has more place to visit. It kind of, in my mind, it kind of resembles Italy, right? That you can go to the Dolomites, and then you can go to Sicily, and then you have Florence and Tuscany, and so it's, in my opinion, Greece is a country that you can come again and again. I think in 10 days, I mean, you can see a few of the islands, right? But then you need more to see the mainland or another trip. And now that you mentioned Crete, Crete, it's kind of a world into the Greek islands, right? It's so big, as I said, you can spend easily 10 days there, and it's so diverse. You have the mountains, you have the gorges, you have the beaches, beautiful towns. So, and very, very unique culture in Crete. They kind of declare themselves firstly as Cretans and then as Greeks, right? So yeah, so there are many different layers to discover.
Yeah. And Robin had asked, what's your favorite place in Greece? So we're curious.
Yeah, I said it already. I love Zagori. Every summer I go there for vacations. I will write it down in the chat because.
Yes. Oh yeah, so great. Yeah, for the hike.
I love that place. I think it's very, very unique, and it has kept. They have kept their traditions, the local architecture. The food is different from what we experienced in the islands, Sarah. Very, very beautiful. Very, very beautiful. It has a really deep gorge, one of the deepest in the world, called Picos. The stone villages, good weather. Because most of the country, especially in the summer, the weather is kind of hot. Up there it's like cooler always. So, and I love places that don't have a lot of people.
Yes.
It has less people. So I found that important. I don't know.
And that kind of leads into Michael's point, and something I was also going to say, of course, we could spend hours talking about all the different islands and destinations in Greece and how they're all so unique. I think the point is just to know that there really is something for everyone. So if you're a more active traveler, we've got, some places for you. If you want to be by the beaches, if you're a foodie, if you're into culture, history, there are so many different places. So you don't just have to always go to Santorini or, Mykonos.
Yes.
There are just so many different personalities and weather patterns, and just different vibes and experiences that you can have. So I just think that's what makes it a very special and unique destination. And working with us, we can help you to identify the best way to combine everything, because it could be a more intimidating destination, which is why it's, I think, so helpful to travel. Michael, go ahead.
Exactly. So you saw my question about over tourism, right? And you mentioned some of the places that, love hate with Instagram and similar social media platforms, right? They promote travel and tourism there, but they also can lead to over tourism. So my question for you, Dimitris, is what are some of the, thinking about the islands, right? You mentioned Zagori and some of the places in the mainland, but what are some of the islands that most folks don't even know about and don't go to, but that you have that you're really passionate about and that you would send more travelers to if they said, cool, Dimitris, we're going to put all of this in your hands, send us to the most amazing, unique, authentic island. Where do you send them?
Yeah. So the island hopping it's a very, very interesting experience in Greece, right? So you start from Athens. And then when you start discussing with people about which islands they want to go, they always say, the ones that they have heard of, like Mykonos and Santorini. As I said already, I love Santorini. It's not that I hate Mykonos. I don't want to use that word, but it's an island like all the others, and which is very, very touristy, very, very expensive, so overcrowded. I mean, it's nice, but we have many different islands that resemble Mykonos. And in my opinion, they are more, I don't want to use that, but more real. So starting from Athens, one of my favorite ones is called Tinos. It's an island which is basically facing Mykonos and is starting changing at the moment because it's very, very close to Mykonos, so it starts to have more people. But it is similar to Zagori. It has a lot of villages, which is kind of unique for the Cycladic Islands. It has great food, interesting hikes. I love hikes, right? So I will speak about the hikes also. Very, very interesting hikes. Interesting culture. It's smaller. You can easily go around. Then I really love, and Michael knows that, and Robin knows that, I really love an island called Naxos, which it's the largest island in the Cycladic region. It has the highest mountain, is 3,000 feet. It has very beautiful beaches, a really charming Venetian old town, great food also. It's quite big, so you can kind of trying to explore it. You can explore places that you kind of by yourself. So all these are in the Cycladic region, and you can combine it with Santorini, for example. So when I try to create itineraries, I always have Santorini because I feel that Santorini is amazing, and there are ways to see it without the crowds. But then, as I said, you have to go and see a smaller one. So Tinos, Naxos, Milos is getting very popular, I think, now in the States with a good region, because it's also an island that has, it's a volcanic island, has some amazing beaches. So there are many. I mean, there are many. There's one which is called Amorgos, very, very lovely. I don't know. I mean, as I said, there are 107 of them. So the general idea, though, is again try to see one of the famous ones and then do one or two of the smaller ones, just to have a feeling of how real Greece is.
Dimitris, you live in Athens, yeah?
I live in Athens, yes.
All right. So this is a personal question. If you were to pick up and move to one of the islands, where would you move to?
It's funny because with my girlfriend we kind of discussing about that. Look,
she emailed me and told me to ask you this question.
Yeah, we haven't figured out. Probably I would choose Crete because Crete has everything. It has the best food in Greece. It has mountains, it has beautiful, beautiful beaches, great towns. It's big enough, you know, in order to travel in the island and don't feel that you are kind of trapped. Because the majority of the Cycladic islands, except of Naxos, which is kind of bigger, they're small, right? So especially in the winter, it's kind of, I don't know, you don't have a lot of options. So Crete will be probably the island that we would choose. I have a friend who just moved there, and we are I don't know, we're discussing about it. We will see.
I think Sarah might join you as well. So
Yeah, no, Sarah has to come again because, as I said, we were in the clouds for 4 days.
I brought the
Yeah,
Pacific
okay.
Northwest weather with me, so that's okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want to highlight any particular experiences that are sort of must see, or I know we've talked a lot about the islands, but any particular experiences or sites that people are excited about?
You know, it really depends about what you want to see, because Greece has pretty much everything. So, for example, if you're interested in archaeological sites, you have some amazing archaeological sites, obviously, right? Starting from Athens, Acropolis, and the new Acropolis Museum, the Ancient Agora. I mean, it's very, 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 very interesting, all of these places to see. And then in the mainland, Delphi, maybe you know, it's the Oracle of Delphi. Actually, my village is only like half an hour from there, so this is where my family comes from. And it's an amazing archaeological site. And then Olympia, you know, the first Olympic Games took place there. Mycenae down in the Peloponnese and the Epidavros. And then Meteora, it's like a crazy place. I mean, all this hiking there is, as I said, I love hiking. So hiking there it's phenomenal. You know, you hike through all these huge rock formations, and you have the monasteries on the top. And then in Crete, we have Knossos archaeological site and the Archaeological Museum of Heraklion. So if you're interested in archaeology, there are tons of places to visit, right? And then if you like the beach, again, many choices. The food is very, very good. I think in the States, you know, because Greek food is kind of simple. I think in the States, you're not getting the real stuff, you know. When I was there, I had some of my worst Greek food experiences, but the food in Greece also is very, very good. Sarah can tell, eh, Sarah?
Oh, sorry, my internet broke up. But yes, I was obsessed with the food, and it was my favorite part. And yeah, and it's not like what you get in the US. I tried to remake it at home, and I'm like, this does not taste the same.
Even the food is kind of changing, because in the past, I love food also, either way. So in the past, in Greece, like the Greek recipes are kind of simple. They use like really fresh ingredients and some spices, not as much as you encounter when you go to Turkey or you continue towards Asia. But then it's kind of changing, and how there's a modern approach to food. So food, I mean, Greek food is delicious in Greece. In the States, it's okay. So yeah, there's.
I want to ask Sarah a question, because how would you define or describe the differences between the Greek food that we get here in the States versus the real thing that you experience on Crete and other places?
You should not have asked me this question. I'm not a short answer kind of gal. It's fresh. I think the biggest difference between our food here in the US for most of the places and other countries in general is I feel like it could be that we're just abroad and we're like, yay, this is the best piece of bread I've ever had, right? It's like, of course it is. You're looking out on a beach, you're having a glass of wine, yay. But everything just tastes so fresh. I mean, the tomatoes, for example, and the way they're grown, they're just packed with so much flavor, and they're just so condensed. And then you've got this super fresh cheese, and you know, you eat things you probably wouldn't normally eat at home. But I would say also, like, they just use a lot of herbs and a lot of different spices. But it just, I don't know, I just say it just tastes just more fresh. And all the vegetables, like, I just forgot how amazing the Mediterranean diet is. And, you know, being also in the winter months, you're just not able to get access to that. So it's just so nice to go to a warm place and have like super yummy local fresh food. The fish is right out of the ocean and you're eating it. So it just, you just get a sense that this is the way life should be. And it's a very romantic thing. But I'm a big foodie and I've been to several countries and I have never not had a bad meal. Or I think I just said too many knots in there, but this was the first time that I had every dining
That was like a
experience.
that was a triple negative. I'm not
Yeah,
even
I was like, wait a minute. I think I just said the opposite of what I wanted to say.
Never not.
I need more coffee. But honestly, every single restaurant I went to was incredible. Demetrius, probably my favorite was our lunch spot that first time. But yeah, it's just really good. And the wine,
impressive now. Yeah.
also. And one more thing. If you're in Crete, especially in Hania, they have, is it Rocky? I can never pronounce it, or Reiki. Yeah. So they give these desserts. It's sort of like tapas in Granada, where you know, they just bring out this complimentary dessert and this little like shooter of alcohol. And it's just so much love and hospitality, and it's really yummy, and you're always excited to see what you're going to get. So I don't know, it's those little things that are really meaningful.
Like instead of destination unknown, it's like dessert unknown. You never know what you're going to get.
Yes,
Bit of a surprise.
exactly. And we I think forgot that just happened in Crete, and we like went to Santorini and we're like, where the heck's our free dessert? We're so upset about that. So, and where's the Rocky? So yeah, anyways. But,
Yeah.
I've heard that before, that that when people travel to Greece, they like the food is just so fresh. I hear that from everyone who goes to Greece, and they feel like lighter and just like renewed after eating this fresh Greek food on their trip. And I've heard that over and over.
And very vegetable forward. So like, I think especially nowadays, people are trending a little bit less towards meat, even though I love meat, all the meat as well. But we just felt like we were eating so healthily, and the vegetables tasted really yummy. And we weren't like, oh, it's vegetarian. It was super good. Anything else we want to say about time of year to visit or the amounts of travelers? Did we feel like we already covered that? I just want to make sure we have time to talk about, you know, over tourism and its impact and all of that.
Yeah, we haven't spoken a lot about the times of Egypt. Again, Greece is advertised as a summer destination, but I feel that like the best months to come in the country is May, June, September, October. I know, Sarah, that your experience wasn't great, but the temperature is lower. We have lower temperatures, less people. It's very pretty. Spring is very pretty in Greece, and then the fall also. Because in the summer, I mean, it's great, but you have to expect crowds, especially when you go to the islands, and especially if you getting towards August, which is a month that most of the Europeans and the same in Greece take their days off. It's crazy. It's like I wouldn't recommend August for people like to come in Greece. Even July, sometimes it feels hectic. So I would say May, June, September, October. October could be like amazing. It's my favorite month. Of course, you can have rain, but the temperature is great. The sea is still very warm. Less people. Everyone is more relaxed because in the summer it's like crazy. I mean, this year Greece did really well. We reached, I think, we maybe passed like the levels of 2019. So everything was booked.
Demetrius, one of the questions we get often for people that are looking to book travel to Greece is there's, I think, an assumption that even in the winter months, the islands are still nice to visit. Maybe, you know, so what is that? Is that true or false?
I think it's false. For example, if you go to Crete, because Crete is an island that has a lot of Greeks either way, like permanent people that are staying there. Heraklion, I think now is the third largest town in Greece. So Crete, again, it's a different story. But the smaller islands, I wouldn't recommend it. They're great. The Cycladic Islands, I mean, when people think about them, have no vegetation at all. But in the winter, it's kind of different because they have that low grass that's green, so they look totally different. And they're very beautiful. But on the other side, there's not a lot of things to do. Most of the restaurants are closed. Most of the hotels are closed. So I wouldn't say, like, as for the islands, I wouldn't say that's ideal if you want to come in Greece. The mainland on the other side is very, very interesting because, as I said, we have snow. In Crete, you can do mountaineering, ski, and overlook the Aegean Sea, you know, and in a few hours we'll be down on the sea and drinking ouzo and eating fish. And there are many places like that in Greece. For example, where I come from, as I said already, I come from a village close to Delphi. There is a national park called Parnassos, and you can ski, and then you drive for an hour, and you're down in the sea, and you're eating seafood. So it's quite interesting. So if someone wants to come in Greece in the winter, it's still nice, but I wouldn't recommend the islands, except Crete.
Got it. Thank you so much, man.
Michael, I don't know if you had any other burning questions. All I sort of had left was any general advice or things to avoid when traveling to Greece.
No, that's good. Go for it.
Okay. Yes,
Yeah.
Dimitris.
I'm obsessed with Mykonos, but avoid going to Mykonos.
Yeah.
Either way, no, I'm joking. Mykonos is fun.
It's fun for the right person, right? If you're looking
Yeah,
for
no,
a
it's
certain
great,
experience, then
yeah.
that would be good. Yeah.
Yeah, if you like nightlife, it's amazing, right? And if you want to go and see like famous people, it's also so it's great, right? And actually, it's very, very pretty. What kind of annoys me in Mykonos is it's really hectic, you know, cruise ships. It's the town is tiny. It's very, very expensive, very, very expensive. It's an island that, for example, Greeks cannot go anymore. So it's kind of a world in itself. Either way, but I couldn't think other. As I said, don't come in August. I mean, all the rest. Greece is a safe country. As I said, it's interesting. There's whatever you like, you can pretty much find it. There's nothing to be afraid of. We don't have sharks in the Aegean Sea, so you can swim freely. So yeah, I mean, yeah.
Oh, I know the boats too, Dimitris. So I sort of had a false assumption that like Croatia or other parts that you'd want to kind of boat around. And I remember you telling me that the waters actually and the weather, it's not ideal for doing a lot of boat excursions or visiting by boat.
Yeah, this is mostly in the Aegean Sea. It's much better in the Ionian Sea, where Amanda Pixer is from, because that part of Greece, the Ionian Islands are they look like a lot like Croatia, as you mentioned. They're in the same kind of region of Adriatic, you know, in Italy. So the sea is much calmer there. But in the Aegean Sea, especially in the months of July and August, we have a specific type of winds called Meltenia that are northern winds, and it could be super windy for days. So, I mean, it's always a guess, but you can come and it could be like perfect, but you could come and for a week, it could be like winds and waves. So sailing in the Aegean is very, very fun, but it always depends about the weather, like everywhere in the world, but the Aegean Sea gets very windy. Also, because of the wind, the islands have a better temperature even in the summer than Athens, for example.
Cool, thank you. So this is a fun question. Oh, I was gonna ask one of your highlighted ones, Michael, or was that what you were gonna ask?
No, I just spur of the moment, but Dimitris, I'm thinking about this. You know, most of the folks that we send to Greece with you are couples. Mm-hmm. We've had a few solo travelers as well, but I mean, is Greece a destination that you would recommend for families? And if so, how young or how old would the kids be to really make sure that they're getting the most of the experience? Yeah, I mean, Greece is ideal for families and especially for children. You know, I have traveled with families through the years, being their guide, because, you know, for young children, you know, they read about the Greek mythology, you know, so it's always fascinating for them to come and experience that in person, right? And then see Acropolis, you know, and go and visit Acropolis and all the other archaeological sites. And it's a safe country. It's pretty much easy, you know, to go from a place to place. You can use a ferry or a plane, you know, to fly to Santorini. So yeah, no, it's a family-friendly country for sure. And as I said, for children, I think they know
more, I suppose that the ones that want to come in Greece, they're fascinated by the Greek mythology, and they know more about about me, about the myths. You know, they say, "Oh, that and that," and I say, "I don't know that." Either way, so yeah, no, it's perfect for families.
Okay, cool, great, thank you.
And of course, the beaches. I mean, many of them they're shallow, so children can swim easily. So there are like tons of options for families.
Yeah, and that's a great question, Michael, because I think I always joke that I saved Greece until I was in a relationship because I saw it as sort of like romantic Paris. You know, Greece is such a beautiful island to explore on your honeymoon or something. But I wasn't, that was like a myth for me. I wasn't overwhelmed thinking, oh my gosh, everyone's on their honeymoon or whatever. I felt like there was a really good mix of girls' trips, solo travelers, families, you know, clearly celebrations and honeymoons, you know, but even on Santorini, I thought, oh, for sure, it's just going to be, you know, I'm going to be surrounded by people. And it wasn't, it was a lot more diverse. And I also thought that it would be a lot more like fancy. People really try to hype up Santorini, and maybe it was because it was in October, but there were all walks of life. And it wasn't just everyone walking down like Rodeo Drive in their, you know, cutest outfits. So I just thought that was nice. And a good feeling. And I will definitely double down on what Demetrius said, that October was a fantastic time to go. It really was not overly crowded, and Santorini was the busiest by far. I can't imagine what it would be like in the summer, but it felt totally doable in October. And so I really would encourage people, if you want to feel like, I don't know, that you're just sort of on this hidden gem, or that you can actually experience things. Like we could actually see the sunset and there weren't hundreds of people around us trying to take the photo. It still had its essence. Can really feel the people and the culture. Like going in the off seasons is a really great tip. And we were able to stay in accommodations that we never could have afforded otherwise because of the discounts. And so that's when you really feel like you're hacking the system, right? So just another tip. But
Actually,
the last two questions, oh, go ahead.
Sorry. No, that's it's a good question for Demetrius. Demetrius, I know there are certain times of year that, and maybe this is perfectly aligned with what you recommended in terms of when to go, May, June, September, October, but what is considered shoulder season in Greece, and when is the best time to go to get the best value and still have the best experience? Is it those times you mentioned?
It's because places like Santorini now, they're getting like ridiculously expensive. There is a lot of demand, obviously, and the hotels are like they're not getting more. I mean, they do, but either way, but it's getting very, very expensive, especially in July and August. So because I'm checking the prices obviously all the time, an advice for that would be to book early. Because you can find better prices in the hotels. Now I think they have algorithms, you know, that they know, and they increase the prices because like in places like Santorini, and even in Crete, you know, that where Sarah went, Milchania and Rethymno, you know, the hotels are small and boutique, so they don't have a lot of rooms. So yeah, an advice would be to book early, and again, go to shoulder season, which is May, June, September, October. You can find much better deals, better hotels, better rooms, because it's getting ridiculously expensive. I was checking the prices. Hotels that in 2019 were I don't know, like 350 euros per night, which is expensive for Greek standards. Now in Santorini they will be like 700 euros, so double price. I think that they have understood that whatever they're going to ask, you know, there will be people able to pay it, and I don't know, either way. But yeah.
Demand is outweighing supply right now, right? So they can ask whatever the heck they want, and they'll get it most of the time.
Yeah, especially the popular islands, right? So again, as we're discussing before, it's great to go to see a smaller one. You will find the same room, you know, maybe sometimes even better. The same really good food, that's beautiful also. So that's what I'm saying. Go also to Naxos or to Tinos, and
Favorite splurge activity, Dimitris? Something that might be pricey, but totally worth it.
I don't know. It's interesting. I don't have something that comes in mind. I suppose go and eat in a nice restaurant, right? Because we're saying all these things about Santorini, but sitting in the caldera, you know, I don't know. With Robin, we have in the past we have organized something like that. You know, you have a private terrace. You know, I mean, this is unique. You know, you have the sunset and I don't know. This is amazing, right? So if you want to spend money, this will be like Santorini will be a place to do it. What do you say, Robin? I think the feedback was great from that night, right?
Yeah, great feedback from that. And we actually did it again. I think we did it twice on a couple different trips. It was like a surprise from, you know, the husband to the wife to bring her to this private terrace and have this beautiful like 4-course meal and wine pairings and overlooking the sea. And they always rave about it afterwards because they have their own little like private space in Santorini. So it's pretty cool.
Which especially for Santorini, having a private space is it's not easy, right? So yeah.
Dimitris, along those lines, I have another question. I think one of the things that we get asked about almost every time we're talking to somebody about possibly traveling to Greece, and they mention going out and doing some kind of sunset cruise. And we've had some people do private versions of that, so as a splurge, and others that have gone out with a shared experience. I guess the question is, what's your take on that? But I will preempt that by saying folks that have gone out on a private experience have often come back and said, well, that was great, but it actually would have been cooler to be there with a few other couples or a few other people so we could have conversation and enjoy that. So I think people look at that as possibly a splurge experience, but maybe you would recommend they do a shared experience. What's your take on that?
Yeah, it really depends on what you want, right? Even the non-private experience, for example, in Santorini with the catamaran cruises, it's not that you're in a big, huge boat, you know, with hundreds of people. Like there are like 10 people around you in the same mood. Everyone is very amazed about the sunset and the views, and so everyone shares the same experience. And there's wine and drinking and food, so it might be fun, with other people. Of course, if you want to have like a private moment, as we were discussing before with Robin, obviously this could be just for you and but it's not, even the non-private is not that you are, again, it's not overcrowded, so it's still nice, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I've had people do like both, like do a mixture of both, like private stuff and some small group things, and they love both for different reasons. And often they'll, go on some like small group wine tour with other couples, and then I've had them come back and say, hey, like we became really good friends with this couple that we met on this small group tour, and like we're gonna go to this next trip together. And so those can be really, really neat for people too.
Yes.
Ledger, one more question.
Yeah, the favorite book or movie or resource to learn more about Greece.
The favorite book. I really like. There's a movie called Zorbas. You know Zorbas, right? Or no? Zorbas the Greek.
Yeah.
Anthony Quinn. This is an old movie. I mean, it's not a generation, I suppose, but anyway. So it's a book written by an author called Kazantzakis. He's from Crete, and he was very well traveled for his time. And he wrote that book, which kind of summarized the Greek spirit. And because in Greece, the culture is kind of laid back. People are enjoying the sea, the drinks, the food, the sunset. And in that book, it's a relationship between a young guy who wants to be an entrepreneur or whatever, like a businessman, and that old guy who kind of appreciate life and today and the moment. So I always buy this book as a present, to the people coming in Greece. And as I said, there was a famous movie with Anthony Quinn, old movie, 70s, maybe 80s, I don't know. But yeah, Zorba the Greek, I think it's a book that you can read while in Greece or before, or even after, because it's kind of, how Greece looks like. So it's nice to kind of to have a different perspective.
So Ian just asked a couple of questions, and I love these because I think this was something I was not aware of, how stunning the nature is and the ability to have some incredible hikes and visit the parks and things. And so if you could help to shed a light on adventure tourism activities, national parks or other protected lands for people that want to do. I know we've talked a lot about it through hikes and everything, but we'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, so concerning the national parks, Greece has 10. Most of them are in the mainland. Some of them they have to do with archaeological sites, but the majority of them has to do with nature and hikes. And so, for example, Zagori, the region around Zagori, it's one of the 10 national parks in Greece. It's called Vikos Aos National Park. Vikos is the name of the gorge. And it's amazing. Olympus National Park also, that you can go and hike. You can reach the top, which is kind of hard, but you can also hike in the rest of the national park, which is easier. In Crete, there is like glorious mountains and gorges. The hiking there is amazing because you can hike up to a peak, then down through a gorge to a beach, then up again. And there is the National Park of Samaria. It's a famous gorge. So yeah, but I think mostly in the mainland, as if someone is interested in nature a lot, and it's people don't expect it, but as I said, we actually have mountains with evergreens and gorges and rivers, and you can do rafting. There's a lot of activities up there.
Yeah, that's a great question. My partner was with me and we live in a national park here in Washington, and he leads a hiking company. So obviously knows a lot about that and was really blown away by the landscape and the opportunities. And he did some of those gorge visits and hikes and things. So highly recommend everything you had just said. And we'll be back in that regard. Any other questions from anyone on? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, what is interesting with hiking in Greece is the fact that the majority of the trails that you walk they're not trails that they were created by by the people of the national park, right? They were trails that they were connecting the villages in the past through the centuries, and I find it very, very interesting. I think it's part of our cultural element, right? It's part of our civilization. Because Greece, obviously the islands were important role in setting the national identity, but in the mainland we have the mountains and the people that were traveling through them, the merchants, the travelers, of those days. So it's very, very interesting to hike in Greece because of that. And you can hike from a village to another village to another village. As I said, up in Zagori there are 46 of them, and I think I see that Ian says about the multi-day hikes. There you can also do like a 4 or 5 day loop through villages up to mountain tops, alpine lakes. People don't know that, but it's very, very interesting. And I have hiked in many places in the world. And of course, I'm not saying that because it's my country, but the Greek mountains are very, very interesting.
Yeah. Any other questions from anyone on the call today? Michael, I know you really wanted to chime in here about we're talking about how to travel better, but how do we live better with ExploreX? So
yeah, well, I mean, our philosophy and our ethos is that our belief is that when we travel better, more mindfully, more engaged, et cetera, we are then often inspired to live better. And I think the point I wanted to make here is that one of the points of feedback we get from our travelers when they come back from Greece every time is that they felt really connected. They felt like they got to know their guides. Like almost all of them come back and say, our guide was amazing. They're my new best friend. We're friends on Facebook and Instagram. We have each other's phone number, and we're just, they become so much more than guides, right? They become their real friend, their insider, that local that they can lean on. And that gives them a much deeper experience of Greece, right? And so I think one of the things that I love and we love most about Greece is that we are able to offer that that sense of perspective and that insider's knowledge and connection to our travelers. It's not just sending you there, you're seeing the sites, you're ticking off boxes, and you come home, right? You're actually really feeling like you are there with a local friend who's going to really shepherd you around and give you that insider and connect you to their friends and take you to their families home for, you know, a meal and things like that, which really is a very, very powerful experience for folks. So I think beyond the beauty and the nature and the islands and the history and all of that, I think maybe what transcends all of that for most of our travelers is this idea that they really feel like they got that insider's perspective because of the relationships that we have through Demetrius and his guides, and such a critical part of what we believe in and what we do. So, all right, we are at time. So Demetrius, thank you so much. Sarah, thank you so much. This has been awesome, awesome, awesome. If anybody has questions about traveling with ExplorerX to Greece, hello@explorer-x.com or greece@explorer-x.com. Both of those will get to us, and we'd be happy to chat with you more about what it looks like to travel to Greece with ExplorerX. Again, website is explorer-x.com. Yeah, thanks so much, everybody. Demetrius, thank you so much. Sarah, again, thank you. Ian, Victoria, Maureen, Nancy, those that showed up, thank you so much for being here. And yeah, we look forward to talking to you on our next destination of the month.
Thank you.
Thank you.